Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for what is it, the 16th day? Yeah, of September 2020. I should know that because I just did the esoteric influences, but out of sight, out of mind, really. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know. It felt kind of like it was maybe clearing a little bit till we check the pollution indexes that we have to go by these days. I can't believe that we're actually checking those things almost like every couple of hours just to see where it's going. This is just such a it's just icky out there, and I feel so bad for all the people fighting these fires. And I saw a picture of some of them that were resting. They were taking a nap. They were all laying on the ground on their packs and whatnot, against them, and just taking a break and taking a nap because I'm sure they're just exhausted. Um, they're outside on the ground, and it really shows you. You get the whole mother thing that wells up, and it's like, oh my God, I hope they're okay. And I this is just awful for them. They're such courageous people, the woodland firefighters. Well, any firefighter really. It doesn't matter. You're dealing with something that's just awful, and the skill these folks have is phenomenal. So we're so blessed to have them here. We have we have the hot shots here, and we have a smoke jumper place here where I live in Redmond, and I actually have known some of them in the past, and they're remarkable people. They really are. Um, a level of selflessness that I don't know. You just don't see much. Um, so I appreciate them so much, what they're doing for all of us right now, and during this extremely difficult time. I saw a picture of a sunset in Connecticut taken last night that uh, it was different than typical, and they're thinking that it's because of the fires from clear over here. So the smoke travels. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. If this is your first time here, welcome to the divination for the day. And we're going to take a look at 3 cards. If we need more, we'll take them. But we'll look at 3 first. I'll take them randomly. I'll take the 13th one each time I draw one. And then when we're done talking about those, we'll go on to the rune from the Elderfuth Arc, and then we'll close out with the Geomancy rune. So let's go ahead and get started and take our first 3 cards. Well, I made reference, I think, to this yesterday. The 8, or maybe it was the day before, the 8 of Pentacles. Working hard on your craft, increasing your skill, establishing your legacy. The town's in the background, so some of that's for the town. Here we have the Chariot on this 7 energy day. This is the 16th, so 6 and 1 is 7. Again, balancing shadow side of self with spirit, knowing when to act and when to allow. If you were listening to the Esoteric Influences video, if you've listened to that today, or if you had read, I haven't done it yet, but by the time this goes up, it'll be up. If you see it over on the blog, you'll see in the Human Design section, there's a counsel regarding timing today. And I think that it's interesting that we pull the Chariot after that. So all right, we have Death. Well, let me think here. We might need a 4th card. I don't know. What to put in the center? Let's put the 8 in the center. All right, we'll have the 8 be the center card today. And kind of govern, what the others are going to be doing here. So we'll look at the Eight of Pentacles. And here you're looking at, let me move my stuff out of the way here. Here you're looking at a man who's sitting on a bench, and he's basically building his craft. He's building his wealth, but he's a craftsman, So a craftsman isn't going to do that just for himself. It's not just something that's going to benefit him. It has to benefit other people, right? And so consequently, with the Eight, you're talking strength, you're talking leadership, the greater awareness of the collective harmony, practicing one's skill. But there's a greater awareness of the needs of others contained within the Eight of anything. But when you're talking about Pentacles, you're talking about the earth element, or the practical side of life, material security, foundation, home, work, legacy, family, all of that, really. Perseverance is another one. Justice has to do with the Eight. But this guy, he's basically, there's a progressive sense of, I don't know if you want to call it leadership, or a progressive sense of building for the future. But again, it's that greater awareness. And so then when you have two cards from the major arcana, basically informing this guy's process, then he understands the need to balance dark with light so that he can actually do that. Otherwise, he would be thinking only about himself versus other people as well. Here you have the king coming back from somewhere. You see his scepter in his right hand. You see the triple aspects of the goddess. The center one is implied with the way his I don't know if that's part of his battle attire, or that's the top part of it, but you can see that. You can see the sun above, or a star above, actually, on his crown. And then you can see the Merkabahs, not too clearly, I don't think, but the Merkabahs on the drape up here and behind. You see the cube, the square, on his breastplate. And really, you're talking about there, I actually remembered to bring my magnifying glass in here. But you're basically talking about, we talk about the cube. Oh, come on, stay on. There we go. I think it's been dropped one too many times. I think you're really talking about foundation there. And you're really balancing emotion, aren't you? You see the sun, the winged sun, right above the dreidel on the shield. Again, keeping everything in balance, keeping the will in balance. So that, you really see pretty much everything in this card, all suits in this card. You see the kingdom in the background. The wheels on the chariot indicate movement. But we see the little sphinxes in front, the dark and light sphinxes in front at rest, don't we? Everything's just come to a halt, and he's taking stock. That's realistically what the seven energy is all about. You take stock. Yesterday we had the seven of Pentacles in the reading, and you see the man standing there, kind of leaning on his hoe, and he's basically taking stock in of his harvest and what's left to do. Does he have enough? And I think that when we are building our wealth, when we're working our craft, working our trade on behalf of others, sometimes we just have to, he's almost like he's the center point in the seven, isn't he? The four position, where he's just continuing to just do what he knows, instead of being influenced by other people, right? He's just there all by himself. It's sort of a solitary type of existence here. but with an eye on others as well. But it's a focus, you know, that's building toward the future. And here, he knows when to act and when to allow, doesn't he? As he allows everything to come to rest, whatever he's coming back from, you know, is perhaps over. And now it's just time to sit back and look and see, okay, what happened, you know? I mean, it's kind of a, I'm really kind of relating it to the 8 here. But then you have death, a 13th card, with the white rose on the flag. Death rides in on a pure white horse. We see the sun rising in the distance between 2 towers, in the kingdom visible there in the kind of in shadow there in front of the sun. You see the priest or the Hierophant there blessing the whole situation. The king is dead. The queen is there, and their son is there. They're both bereft at the death of the king, while death rides through. The difference between, and you can see on the star, the pentagram on the contained within the petals of the rose, but here we have it inverted, as opposed to the top point pointing to spirit. Now it's pointing down to form. But awakening is upon us because we see the sun rising, even though, you know, we're having a return to the earth essentially. With the death of something, the energy then drops, and then you move on to something new. Whether this is actually depicting a death of an individual, or whether it's just the transition that we make from one state to another, or one perception to another. It could be letting go of perceptions that don't serve you any longer. I would think when we talk about the Chariot, we're looking at balancing, you know, again, shadow side of self with spirit. And what that really means is bringing ego in balance with spirit. You know, it's a healing situation because, you know, we see the winged sun up there above the dreidel. With the presentation of the stars as Merkabahs on the drape behind him and above him, you could then view the chariot itself as a soul vehicle, and the transformation and or transmutation, you could say transformation too, but transmutation of ego into spirit, from one that is more ego driven to one that's more balanced. It's not that you don't have an expression of ego in your life. It's just that spirit needs to control what that looks like. And so it's the ability to see the bigger picture, like you see in the 8. He has responsibilities. You see it's either a house or the kingdom in the background. It could be his house, his home. So he has responsibilities, and he's working really hard to fulfill them. That's what I like about this card. It's about doing really for others, even while you're building your own wealth, maintaining your own level of security. But you do that by balancing ego with spirit. The screen's darkening. This isn't enough to keep the screensaver from kicking in, evidently. I think we need a 4th card, though, don't you? Well, I think that we're on the verge, and I think that we see this with the death. Death is about transition, okay? I mean, it could also be about transmuting, again, perception into something that's more, you know, higher self-oriented. But here we have the Page of Cups, new emotions. Pages are about, I mean, they can either, the thing about the court cards, okay, is you can either talk about the individual on the card, or you can talk about the qualities of that individual. And then, if it's a male person on the front of the card, then it can also apply to female. Right here, we have a student, essentially a youthful person. The knight would be older, someone who's maybe out of college and now is pursuing it, on his own quest, his own grail quest and all. But with cups, you've got the water element and our emotions. And so here you see the water is kind of wavy in the background. So emotions are sort of in flux, but he's on the other side of that line of demarcation, a sort of that was then and this is now sort of experience. And so even though the emotions are still a little bit wavy and in flux and still affecting things, we have the birth of something new along those lines, likely a result of the transition from death, where we bring everything into balance in a way that's healing, in a way that maybe drops resistance and becomes more part of the flow. Let things flow, in other words, instead of stopping and entering the mix each time. Again, on this 7 energy day, particularly if you're empathic, you want to step back. You don't want to absorb the emotions around you. The energies around you, they're there, they mix with our auras. That's what it is. In other words, when we focus into form, our soul just isn't simply in the body or connected to the pineal gland or connected to the spinal cord or whatever, right? Whatever people think it is, how it connects in. It infuses everything. And it just doesn't stay within the body. It expresses outward quite a ways. And so you're around other people and your auras are mixing. So soul energy is mixing all of the time. And when that happens, you're going to pick up on what people think, how they feel. You're going to pick up on their experiences. Sometimes it's not particularly clear what all that is, but you're picking up on it nevertheless. If you focus on it, then you create a connection to it, and that can become problematic. You have to take time then to release those channels of attention, basically. Just because, in other words, just because vampiric energy or uncomfortable energy taps you on the shoulder, wants to have a conversation with you, doesn't mean that you then have to engage. And that's something that empaths have to learn early on in your awareness of what's going on. Sometimes you just think you need antidepressants. Well, no. It's that you're picking up on other people's stuff. And sometimes it's difficult to discern if it's yours or somebody else's. And so the way I do it is if suddenly I start, becoming upset, it's either because I'm pulling energy off my husband because he's upset. And if I'm not upset at all, then I have to ask myself, well, okay, did I take myself here? Did my own thought processes take me here? Or is there actually an upsetting situation I'm responding to? And if I can say no to both those things, then I know that I'm picking up on something my husband's doing, right? Or somebody else in the grocery store. I might, if I pass by somebody, safely in an aisle now, or I get too close and I have to turn around and go back the other way, then I do a lot of that too. I'll turn around, but sometimes there's somebody there. So at that point, 6 of one, half dozen of another. So I turn my head away and I walk past them, right? And so do they, right? But the bottom line is when you do that, you get close enough to somebody, you're going to pick up on it. The way that it can happen is if they send that intention to you. If somebody somewhere else in the world starts focusing in on you, you might be picking that up as well. So if you know that you have not caused this mood that you're in, because you haven't been thinking yourself there, in other words, thinking about something that's upsetting, or worrying or irritating or whatever. If you haven't done any of that, you're likely picking up on someone else's energy. And maybe it's energy that they're focusing in your direction, so it might feel a little sticky. And that's what we call vampiric. Well, this may be some of this might be for empaths today. I don't know. But I think that when we see death and then the Page of Cups, then I think we're really looking at the sun that's coming up. It's coming up on a new day where we maybe are able to control our emotions a little bit more and realize, that maybe it's best to just drop resistance and allow a little bit and stand back and see what happens. You might find your ability to create is with the Eight of Pentacles, to be stronger when you do that, when you're not so jumbled up with other people's stuff, when you allow things to settle out. And then you allow something new maybe to take hold. Let's see what the rune has to say, though. And I'm using my Rowan runes. They're a little darker than the hawthorn ones. There's just a little bit darker wood inside. My husband just cut a branch off that had died, so now I have, I mean, it's probably about yay big around, and so I'll have some nice altar size runes, you know, like something maybe not quite this big, but almost. This is Hecate's wheel. It's like a helm of awe. What's known as a helm of awe. It's a protection thing. I've had a lot of jumpy candle flame lately, and so I just decided, if that's energies coming in, sometimes it is, depends on what it is. I put my Hecate's wheel there just for a little extra protection while we do this. But anyway, we have Nathis as the rune today, one of the runes of the Elder Futhark that is considered a Norn rune. Hagalaz, Nathis, and Isa. This is Isa. And then Hagalaz looks like an H, but instead of a horizontal line, it goes diagonal. But these are the the runes were given to Odin by the Norns of fate. But Nathis is the friction within to manifest. And in this case, I think it's the friction within to manifest a better emotional state, to remain in a much better balance. So you're not, allow that transformation to happen, so that you're not stymied from being able to see the greater picture at hand. And who are you doing work on behalf of? Okay. Is it just you, or is it for others as well? The craftsman obviously needs to make a living, but a craftsman works for others, you know, whether it's a cabinet maker or a house builder, or you know, someone who's just in that type of a creative type of a job, you know. You're building the future for other people, not just yourself. But it takes that inner friction, that control of the will, to manifest something that understands that greater picture. I think that we're seeing plenty of examples right now of leadership that it's like bank shot. They don't see it. They're all so self-absorbed and so self-driven. It's all about them and the money that they can put in their own pockets. They don't see government service as something that is more of a, you know, doing on behalf of others. It's a different mindset when you can keep that in perspective. And right now, we have a situation in the government that's not the case. It's all self-dealing, and it's all a big grift, basically. And what our collective coffers even will look like when all is said and done here. We'll find out just how much damage has been done to all of us. You know, and that's the thing. It's all done behind the scenes, and nobody knows. You know, but the idea here is that, you know, whatever turmoil we've been in, whatever struggle we've been in emotionally, with respect to, you know, the Page of Cups here, it's time to let go of that and to bring things into balance, transmuting ego into spirit, and allowing that whole perceptions to heal, allowing emotions to heal, so you can make that transition into a new day where you can do things in service to others, not just yourself. Because as he's doing that for other people, they pay him. So it benefits him, right? So being service to others is not something that is a bad thing. It's actually quite beneficial. It's really the I mean it's really the only way to be, really. I mean, I realize people make a different choice before coming into form, and they want to live that experience and see what that's all about, you know. But it doesn't serve anyone. Well, we have Cabot Draconis. Okay, where's my... There they are. Rather than drawing it out, I've just been doing my runes here and getting the one out that I've already inscribed. That's Kata. Caput. So we have Caput Draconis. The two Draconi, this is Caput, this is Kata. They represent the north nodes of the moon. And so they're points of power, basically. Kata, or Caput Draconis, represents the north node, and so that's the future. I always like to include the present in on that, but it's future development, new direction. Kata, on the other hand, is considered more of an evil influence, but that's just because of its connection to karma. Now, karma can simply be the effect of prior behavior. Now, whether or not that's and the lesson that you need to learn from it. Now, whether that's in this lifetime or other lifetimes, it can also mean other lifetimes. So, but when we see Caput Draconis, we're talking about something new, and that's, you know, related to the death card and likely the page. So I think that the inner friction to embark on a new path or to secure the future means that we need to bring mind, body, spirit into balance. We need to understand that we are in fact souls in these bodies and not the ego. And we need to have enough of a transmutation of ego into spirit that we can then behave on and act on behalf of other people instead of on just what affects you. So, you know, you can again, if this is happening in your personal life, or this is just something that we're all sitting back and observing, you know, I think that what we're observing can certainly bear witness to all of this. That being able to do and think and behave on behalf of other people, to take them into account, instead of not being able to extend compassion or empathy or understanding for the plight of others. You know, that's really what's inherent in the 8. When you're talking in 8 energy, you're talking about something greater than yourself and your own needs. It's a leadership position. You know, you can think the god Tyr, the rune Tiwaz is an 8 energy. It's the 17th rune of the Elder Futhark, and it's an 8 energy, numerology wise. And so you're really talking about the leadership aspect of self. It would be the difference between parents who are out at the bar all night long and leaving their kids home alone, drinking up the money they need for rent, right? Or going to work, earning a living, allowing that paycheck to then come and benefit the whole family, making sure that things are secure, the rent's paid, the house payment's paid, the car payment's paid, there's enough money there for food, for everyone, there's enough money to take care of everybody. It's having that ability to see into the needs of others and then respond to that, instead of it having being solely about you. So I think that again, you know, this is really a reading of balance. It's probably a reading, though, of balanced will expression, in a way that can understand the greater picture. So if you take the 7 energy then and stand back and take a look at what's going on, letting the situation come to rest before you act, you know, that may be the timing that you need to use today. Just let that 7 energy work for you. So, because I think you've got an 8, and then that's a 4, that's 12, that's 3, Yeah, and then 7 is 10, so that's 1. So yeah, we've got new beginnings. And the page indicates that, depending on what it's combined with, it can mean a pregnancy, it can mean the birth of a child. Um, but maybe new beginnings of love and compassion for others and empathy, unless you're just simply someone that's incapable of it, I suppose. Because there are people like that. I think the guy in the Oval Office is that way. I think he's been this way since childhood, where he has no ability whatsoever to understand anything about other people, not their needs, not their dignity, not their need for respect. I think that I didn't watch the interview, or the town hall, not an interview, but the town hall on ABC last night that George Stephanopoulos did with him. Um, I did see clips, however, and well, there you go. Just watch it if you can. I can't. It's too much. It's too triggering for me. And I feel all of the emotions of the people in the room, but we had some really strong people who stood up to him. And one journalist remarked that stood up to him in a way that George Stephanopoulos did not. One told him to be quiet and let her finish, I guess. The other, when he was continuing to lie to her, she just shook her head and sat down. Another guy, I guess, and I didn't see this one, was talking about the issues surrounding Black Lives Matter. He doesn't have the ability to understand the needs of the country because the only needs that matter to him are his own. And when you have somebody like that, the last thing you want them to be is in any kind of position of authority over anyone, because they're going to ruin it. They'll just ruin it. They ruin everything by that attitude and by that. And I really think that it's a personality defect that simply can't be fixed. It likely happened, early childhood, and or it was genetic, one of the two. But there's something truly wrong with him, and it's just really unfortunate that he's in the position he's in. So, he couldn't summon up any compassion for the woman whose mother died from COVID. Couldn't summon up any of it. So, anyhow, it's like, yeah, we'll wait. George has all night, is what I think he said, while she's trying to regain her composure. I mean, could you imagine Joe Biden doing that? I can't. You would hear nothing but kindness from him, because he's been there. So, and that's what I mean by empathy, and being able to understand how other people feel. Sometimes, people aren't looking necessarily for answers or solutions. They're just looking for someone to understand how they feel. Don't we all want that? Anyway, I guess that's it. And let's see, today's Wednesday, so we'll have one more day. Tomorrow we'll do this, and then we'll take a 3-day weekend, and then we'll do it again on Monday. So anyhow, check out the blog. I'd love you to do that over at Stepping Aside. So imsteppingaside.com. And both the esoteric influences and this video will go up on the side panel over there as soon as it's all published. And more stuff goes up on the blog today. The esoteric influences right up. Also, the astrological outlook for magical workings goes up today. I do that most days. I don't always do it every day, but I do it most days. So if you're working magic, then you can take a look at the astrology for that day. It's from an esoteric standpoint. So elements and modes and retrograde and all the things that can impact your working, astrologically, are there pretty much. There's a little bit up at the top about what the magical workings are, the types are for that particular day, because we also relate it to the day as well, not just to the astrology or the moon or what have you. that's there too. So if you're into that, whether you work magic or not, it's there. You can take a look at it and see if you like, if you find any of the stuff in there helpful to you, and I hope you do. So we'll see you tomorrow, and click subscribe here. I'd love you to do that, and come back, and if you have another interpretation, leave it. You have questions, ask them. I'll do my best to answer them. This is just coming from my own perspective, though. And if I don't know an answer, I'll tell you I don't know an answer. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Wear a mask if you go out around anyone at all, whether you're inside or out. And blessed be.